send you an invite. Let me see.
Okay. I haven't even said who I am on these channels yet.
It's Beyond Drama.
That Beyond Trauma Mama.
Okay.
But that keeps me from fighting over here and over here, these little lawsuits, I think.
All right, so we're back in Washington, D.C. As you can see here, we like doing the landmarks. So you know this is not Photoshop. When I pointed last time and said the Supreme Court's that way, I'm not saying that building. The Supreme Court's right there on the other side, which will be there in a little bit. I do have court in Napa, California through Zoom. The Napa court, if you've been watching the videos, I've been explaining that Napa court allows people to go attend by Zoom. So if you could be anywhere in the world, anywhere on the planet, you can go to family court in Napa, which one of the cases that I've cited, there's a father or an individual, a litigant, who lives in Madrid, Spain. And so you got to deal with the time difference and everything, and that's became an issue in his case. Another thing that's concerning is if he lives in Madrid, Spain, how could then he be a harm to anybody in the county of Napa? But he's worth millions of dollars, and so you figure it out. But so here's the DC court right here. As said before, all the federal buildings, like there's the Labor Department and these other places, this courthouse has purview over all these buildings, all these federal agencies that may have a duty, ministerial, otherwise, they can compel them to perform that duty. And so we're going to take you over roughly where that event took place. There's been a couple events that I've been here personally during the year. There's another one on the horizon, and there's questions that a lot of people have, and I do have concerns because I've been here for other events, and unfortunately poor planning and sometimes embellishment, I would say, has impacted people in a negative way. So people will take time from work, they'll exhaust resources, and they may travel and converge with the hope and the intent of making forward progress in their endeavor, and at the same time helping all the people that are suffering. And I'll tell you, I've been here and I've seen that not necessarily be the case. So there's a reasonable question right now. Do people really need to come here? If the bill's already introduced, do people need to be here, or is there something they can do from their own terminal, from their own home? So I'm here. I'm right now. Amanda Story's right here. Some of y'all probably seen her on Slam the Gavel. She's been on there several times. And Marianne Petrie, another Marianne Petrie is an individual that does her best to get people's stories out, and as does Amanda Story and so many others. But we have to exercise caution because there's so much information coming in from so many different places, because sometimes people just really want to help. There's a lot of people out there, no doubt, want to help, but we have to exercise caution because some people are actually getting in legal trouble, and sometimes the information is being relayed as truth, in fact, without property. Thank you for the follow, without investigating it. I'm a litigant in this building right now. Some people have chastised and a couple. I don't like saying people's names. I'm not here to lambast nobody, but I will get to the meat and the potatoes because I was here. I've been here physically. You can go through my videos. I was here. I was live when these things took place. I've transported the parents to the events. I've been here, and people use the word litigator. So if you are pro se, it doesn't matter how you say it, sui juris, pro se, self-represented, whatever, pro per, people say you have to say it one way. I haven't seen that have any impact on the disposition of a case on how somebody calls it. People say it does, but I've yet to see where it does. So when people say it, I just say, hey, get it how you live. But if you are sui juris, pro se, pro per, then yes, you are a litigant. You look it up. If you are self-represented, you are a litigator because you're litigating. I have an active case in this building right here. Right there down the street is where the Senate's office, the Hart Building and everything. I've taken you guys there. We're gonna go speak to the people who have, introduced the bill or taken up the bill, and we're gonna ask them, like, hey, is there any reason people need to come here? Is there a scheduled event going on? I want to make sure, because I've seen people come here and have expectations that were not met. And they spent a lot of money. And let's face it, a lot of parents are being bankrupt, they're suffering, they're struggling. And if they're pulling away from their fight because they're converging on places with the expectation that something should be done and they're left wanting, that's not okay. So let's ask the people who are in control of the bill, is there anything on their calendar? Is there anything booked? Is there any sincerity or validity to whatever is being kicked? Because, yeah, there's a lot of things that don't add up. And unfortunately, there's a lot of parents that are good here and are suffering, and they're desperate to try to find that path, that seam. And some people will throw them something and they'll run for it. And then they regurgitate it to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And then what happens before you know it, a whole bunch of people are saying the thing and nobody did the research to check to see if it was valid. I've been here when people have gone to file the writ of mandamus in DC, writ of certiorari, you name it. People go swing for the fence. And what happens more often than not is that the court are telling them that you had another option or etc. There's a myriad of reasons. And I saw recently a video where this guy said the most powerful person in the country is the clerk of the Supreme Court, which makes sense because that individual can reject your documents. So I've shown you guys, I've gone to get the instruction manual. I showed you guys to scan it into a thumb drive or into your computer. And then when you have the AI produce your documents, writ of cert or writ of mandamus, it'll follow the Supreme Court's rules, and you tell it to cite their own handbook. So if that clerk opens it up and it cites the page of their own handbook, then you got a pretty good argument that you're in compliance with whatever their rules are. Because imagine if you have the meat and the potatoes, you have the argument, you have the points and authorities, you have everything, you have jurisdiction. If you're able to achieve all those, but you messed up on a technical error and it gets rejected because of that, imagine that. And so we're going to show you the logistics of what it takes. I have to file my writ of cert at the Supreme Court. I'm going to show you the how and the why, because you have to exhaust all remedies at the state level. That's the Court of Appeals. So you could do a motion to set aside, motion to reconsider. You have your objections. You could do writs of mandamus at the Superior Court level. You could do writs of mandamus at the Court of Appeals and at the your state Supreme Court. Then you can exhaust an appeal. I've done an appeal. I'm an appellate. I filed my appellate brief, my responsive brief, responded to my responsive brief my third brief was to their brief. Then I did oral arguments. It's posted here. You can see. So I've done all this as a self-represented litigant. I'm in this building as a self-represented litigant. So I'm not telling you things. I'm not an attorney. I'm not trying to woo you guys and say, do what I do or you're wrong and I'm right. I just, when there's a seam or a gift that's given here, I go research it before I relay it to other people. Because if I'm failing people, if I'm giving them stuff that I can't validate. So I've exhausted all those remedies up to the Supreme Court of the state of California. I have the remitter. Once you have that document, then you can properly file a writ of cert. You have 90 days to do that. But I want you guys to, I'm going to get a ream of paper later on today. We're going to show you the weight on that. And I was trying to explain this to people the other day. If you are going to pay the filing fee of, I think, $410 to file your writ, or which is like that's your request for review from after you've exhausted the Court of Appeals, after you've exhausted the state Supreme Court requesting review. Then you're going to go up and ask for a writ of certiorari, which is the Supreme Court to review it. Very small window, but you might get there, but not if you don't do it right. But let's say, like my clerk's file that came up from Superior Court is 560 pages, right? Then you have my appellate brief. You have their responsive brief. You have my response to their response and any other corresponding evidence like the your request to review. So let's say it's 1,000 pages. You have to submit 40 copies of your request of writ of certiorari or whatever to the Supreme Court. So 40 times 1,000, there's 500 pages in one of those packets of paper. You do the math, you do the weight. You got to lug that stuff up to the Supreme Court. One of the good things is you can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Supreme Court is the only place that you can do that because it has to go through security protocols. They do an NBC, which is nuclear, biological, and chemical. You bring your documents, they put it in plastic, and then it goes through a security regimen before it enters the building. For that reason, you can file there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So you don't have to fly in on a weekday. It doesn't have to be between normal business hours. You can file your request for review with the Supreme Court 7 days a week, 24 hours. That's an awesome advantage, because some of the tickets to get places, or if you know anything about DC, traffic here is a monster. So there's all these variables that I want to show you guys, because I've been here, drove people to go file. I'm now going to file. I'm going to bring you guys along with it. So I have a case in here. I have a case in the Eastern District of Virginia. I'm not an attorney. I'm a regular person. I'm a father. I'm fighting. Now I'm filing at the Supreme Court. I also have 2 active issues in the state of California, county of Napa. And I'm doing all this not by choice. Like, I'm entitled to legal representation. So in California, in most states, they have what's called pendiente lite. In the state of California, it's mandatory if certain caveats are met. It's called Family Code 2030. So look into your state if you're in a custody battle or a dissolution of marriage. Look into your state to see if they have pendiente lite. And what that means is, say you were the lower earner, say you were the stay-at-home person, you don't have as much money as the other people or the other individual, but that shouldn't be the reason why your constitutional rights, your parental rights, or whatever are abridged or cast aside. It should be based on the merits. So pendiente lite is supposed to be a protection measure, so that if there's a disparity of income, that means a good sized gap, one person should help pay for some or all of the other person's legal expenses, so that the case is resolved based on the merits, not on who has more money, to give them an unfair advantage. In most other states, it's discretionary, meaning that the court can decide. In California, it's mandatory. They remove the discretion from the arbiters. So the judges, once you file an income and expense declaration, once you file a request for order, if there's a disparity, it's a must, mandatory. The judges don't have discretion. In my case, they denied me twice. Today we have court. If you guys are here, you can watch all this stuff play out. Napa County allows people to attend by Zoom from anywhere. That's how we got here. A lot of you guys were showing up and observing observing the sincerity of what I'm telling you here. So you go to the Napa County Court website, you go to remote court appearances, and you're going to want to click on courtroom C at 8:30 East Coast or West Coast time, excuse me. So that's 11:30 here on the East Coast. We're going to be over at the Supreme Court. We're going to be having court from the Supreme Court to this family court in Napa. But some of y'all's states don't offer a mandate. California has a codified law that it's mandatory. So if Amanda was a stay-at-home mom and she didn't make as much money as her husband, which I know in that case he's a CIO of a company, has a lot of money, his family is very well interwoven, and that's one of her greatest obstacles, like so many of us, to include Giselle. I've heard that P. Diddy is one of his pilots is her baby's dad. So you can imagine he's got to have a lot of money. And I'm sure he's got some influence and some power. If you've been a driver or somebody's pilot, you know you have a very close bond with your client. You know, you're responsible for their family safety, so it's a different bond than most other people, like your gardener, your cook, or whatever. It's just unique. I don't know how to explain it. So Giselle, who a lot of people are now speaking of, she was in custody in San Diego. They had her in Las Colinas, which is a jail. It's the only county jail they have in San Diego County for women, with the exception of MC whatever, which is the federal detention holding center in downtown. They transferred her to LA County Jail, which is like the worst place you could be. Why? She's now facing 6 felonies. I've told you guys about another Amanda, the Team Napa. That mother, the same thing. She got charged with 5 felonies, 1 misdemeanor. She went to go take her son to have ice cream. They arrested her, yada, yada. There was no TRO in place. They stuck her with the public defender. They said that she was a victim, and that if she didn't identify herself as a victim, which usually has a thing to do with the money, because they don't get paid unless she identifies herself as a victim. So they said, if you don't, we're going to take your parental rights. She refused to identify herself as a victim. So then they went and tried going after her parental rights. So when she took a stand, that was their maneuver against her. She fired her public defender and self-represented against 5 felonies and 1 misdemeanor in the county of Napa. She lost her career. She was an arborist, made like 10 grand a month. She had to sacrifice all this to go face this battle head on. So she was in a similar circumstance as Giselle. And it's happening to a lot of people. Amanda tried to pull her case out of the family court into federal. All the things that people recommend here has been done, but she has prevailed. They are restoring her parental rights. She's got her career back. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. It is an achievable standard, but we have to exercise caution. There's people on here that are giving out information that's alarming, it's concerning, and people are now getting locked up. So there's a duty amongst all the people in the community to vet the information or to sit there and take a step back. I'm not going to say the name of the persons or the people or whatever, but Giselle, I've been on here with Giselle. Meg had put us all on the phone one day, myself and Aaron, which Aaron's another parent, a mother out of San Diego who's battling a nurse, a travel nurse, battling through the same dynamic or the same tempest that we all do. And myself and Aaron were put on the phone with Giselle, and that was the first time I met her. And I have to admit, it was not a pleasant experience. I didn't know her, and she was asking questions, and then I would try to give her the response because I'm here in D.C. This is when they were trying to press the mandamus narrative, and I didn't know who was telling them this. And they said, no, we spoke to somebody who knows, and that person was saying, oh, going to federal court's a waste of time, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But people who don't even understand the basic fundamentals of law are now jumping on here and they're regurgitating what other people are saying. And that's dangerous because they're saying it as if it's fact without being able to properly validate it. And you can tell because when you ask them a question, they can't answer the question. It's like they're like, because they're sticking to the script that was given to them. That's dangerous because whoever was giving that information, I know who it is, but I'm not saying the name. Giselle was following that path. And she's in jail right now, man. She's in LA County jail. I don't know if you're from California. I've met some real hardcore people who said the worst place they've ever been was in LA County jail. So I'm assuming they did that on purpose. They moved her from Las Colinas, which is San Diego, but it's not LA County jail. I get the feeling that they transferred her there as to apply more pressure to get her to capitulate, because that's a horrible place to be. Male or female, LA County is no joke at all. I mean, LA County jail is no joke. So right there, Grant Memorial, that's where this event took place. People were coming in. It was Pride Week or something. I don't know if it was Pride Month or Pride Week, but the whole city was already booked for that event. So it's like all the hotels were filled up. All the streets were cordoned off. There was concerts jumping off, and somebody didn't check the schedule of what was going on in DC, which is public information. So all these people showed up here, and it made it more expensive because everything was booked up, and trying to navigate the city when there's an event going on here is a difficult challenge. Trust me, I've been here for the inauguration. I was here for that. I've been here for parades and different things. Man, it is just to get a few blocks is extremely difficult here. You may not make it there without walking if you're taking an Uber or whatever. So when they planned this event, they didn't do very good due diligence to make sure people weren't exhausting a resource and getting trapped and stuck right here. But who's that? Big Chief, how you doing? Hey, Big Chief Connecticut, I know who that is. How you doing, Albert? So Albert is one of the guys that when he tells me something, I know it's a truth. I know it's vetted. I know it's because he's been actively fighting for like 15 years. If you get a chance, follow Big Chief CT. This guy is one of the most intelligent people that I've met. And when he's talking, I shut up and I'm listening. I take the wax out of my ears and I stick it in my mouth. There are some people on here that command a respectable amount of acumen. And then those people get together and then they're effective. So if we're spinning our wheels in circles here, we're doing no justice to ourselves and to others if we're getting people to spin with us. So we're going to get up there. We're going to go up to the Hart Building here. We have court at 11:30. I'm going to walk you guys through the whole thing. We're going to go to VAWA. Look, ladies and gentlemen. So Amanda went to VAWA and she was actually able to make some forward progress. So VAWA is RAND, that's Victim Violence Against Women's Act. It's also for men too. I didn't know that until I met somebody who was writing up my my federal. I have a federal complaint, and that's listed in there. It also supposed to help men, but it's ran by the DOJ. So if you file a complaint for civil rights violations, the DOJ, their civil rights department, if they don't finance it, they said they don't have purview over it. So VAWA is one that they do. We're going to take you to that building. It's down there by the ATF building, just so we can show you where it's at. I highly recommend people, if you're down there in a county, somewhere in America, wherever it is, and your rights are being abridged, and those people are getting federal funding, and they're not discharging those duties. There's that smoke. They're not discharging those duties. Your civil rights are being violated. So then you could go to this court right here. You can prefer a civil rights mandamus. My mandamus is a civil rights mandamus. But what that mandamus is you're saying somebody here. I'm not trying to. I'm just going to throw out some names. I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but you have the EPA here. You have OSC, which is the Office of Special Counsel, who investigates whistleblower retaliation. There's a bunch of OIGs. You have the IRS, whatever, blah blah blah. VAWA is one of them. So if you go to VAWA and you're saying, or you go to the DOJ and you request this, an investigation into a civil rights violation, that's where the mandamus would come in play. You could.
Talking about VAWA and
Yeah. Yes, sir. You're about, wait, let's talk to this man. This gentleman hurt. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, at the HUD building, they're firing whistleblowers right now.
You work for them?
Yes. I was one of the 4 public whistleblowers. They're about to fire me.
Did you hear that? This gentleman's one of the. Tell your name, brother.
Paul Osadeva.
Paul Osadeva. He's a whistleblower from not Health and Human Service, but you said
Department of Housing.
Department of Housing. He whistleblew, and he said that they're about to remove him. So what he could do is he can go to the OSC here and file a whistleblower complaint. I've been there. Are you a resident of DC?
Yeah.
So he's a resident, so he automatically has jurisdiction here. And that's one of the biggest problems that people are facing is establishing jurisdiction in DC. But that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. If the building is here, they are federal employees, whether you're in Arizona or whatever, as long as you exercise a complaint and a duty was owed and failed, you can file a civil rights mandamus here. You can file the civil rights mandamus here. Yeah, I have one active here right now. And then this court can look at your evidence and compel this building is the only one that compel anybody here to do a duty. So whistleblower retaliation, he goes to the OSC. He says, I was retaliated against for doing my duty. The OSC investigates. If they did not do anything proper, he could file the mandamus, and he could also file against HUD to demand that the court give him relief. And if that doesn't work, he appeals it. There's on the second floor here, there's a whole appellate team. If you don't have an attorney, they'll let you bring in somebody who can take the test to see if they can help you. And if they Godspeed with you, brother. You heard it, man. We're just sitting here on the corner. That gentleman's about to lose his job because he whistleblew. So it begs the question. I'm gonna have to watch this video again and get his name. So he's on his way right now to go get fired for whistleblowing. That's crazy. He just heard us talking about it. So he can then file a civil rights mandamus. If he gets no relief, it goes up to the next floor. They have a full appellate team that works with that helps to mediate. So if you have somebody that understands the law, they can take a test and help you out if you don't have an attorney. If not, at the worst case scenario, they'll help get you an attorney. From there, if you are not able to find relief, it goes to the Supreme Court. And that's what I realized is people that live here, they have jurisdiction. These buildings sit in DC. It's extremely difficult to serve people personally here. That's another way to establish jurisdiction in Washington, DC is personal service. But these buildings, not the court, but like Health and Human Services, OSC, all these buildings are secure buildings, so you can't personally serve them. You have to send it by mail or otherwise. So that removes that ability to establish jurisdiction by personal service here because you can't enter the building. Thank you for the follow. But so all right, you ready, Amanda?
Yep.
Let's go kick some ass. All right, when we say kick ass, we don't mean physically, folks. We are against violence. We're just talking about we're kicking some butt with our mouths by letting y'all know. Thank you. I appreciate it. Isn't that crazy? We're just standing on the corner. So I have a civil rights mandamus in here. I'm not trying to prefer harm against whom I've initiated a mandamus against, because the duty was failed by the previous administration. So I'm asking for them to pick up the torch, look at the evidence, and be like, hey, we're going to make this right. Now, for those of you who don't know, I was in the Army. I was a peacekeeper. I deployed with 2-2 infantry. Y'all have seen the video. You've seen the people. I'm going to explain to you guys the mandamus right now. Okay, so I was married to a woman whose father was taken by force in San Diego, California. He was forcefully taken from his home in San Carlos. His name is Alberto Corchon. He was a restaurant owner. Members of the cartel were sent out of Mexico to take him by force. And I guess he was on the way to Mexico, I'm assuming, from where they found him. I'm going to post the video and show you guys. I went to San Diego to take you guys to the spot of the foul, as I call it, and he was dispatched. He wasn't the only one. I grew up in Napa and I grew up in San Diego, and both this night and day, two different experiences. So between 2008 and 2010, I volunteered to the United States Department of Justice. I left Napa. I was watching a video one day. It's on YouTube. I'll show you guys the video. It shows all the people that succumbed to battle that served for 1st Infantry Division. And that day I was watching it, and I knew all the names, but there was another name on there that I didn't know had passed, which is right here. It's Tracy Larimore. He wasn't with 2-2 Infantry, but he was with the 1st Infantry Division, and he passed away in Iraq. So that day I was really, I was really bummed out, because we lost a lot of our brothers in Iraq. And so I reached out to the DOJ. They asked me to come to San Diego. I went to San Diego. I met up with Cold Case Homicide, sat down with San Diego homicide investigators, and we put a plan together. So for 2 years, I discharged this duty. I worked for the Marriott. I moved to Texas. I was living in Kyle, and I worked in Round Rock, Texas at the Marriott, and then I would commute. Then I moved to North Austin, stayed there, but then I transferred to Napa, California. But while I was at the Marriott, the DOJ asked for permission for me, because I had a job. I was doing this. I volunteered to do this. My brothers were passing away. They were fighting everybody, and I wanted to do something to compliment their valor. So it is what it is. I didn't have a son. I felt it was my duty to call to Valhalla. If you know, you know. So I would commute all the way from Austin, Texas to the area of operations, which is Mexico and San Diego, and then I go back. But I had to get permission from the Marriott to do this. So the DOJ asked them, and they granted it. Then when I went to California, the DOJ asked the Marriott in Napa for the same permission. My supervisor was a woman named Bobby Freeman, so I would leave Napa for extended periods of time, go do my duties, and then return to work. It was extremely stressful. But on one of the times I returned, I was fired. Bobby Freeman fired me after she had given written permission to the DOJ for me to leave to go do these things. So that catapulted me into like this chaotic circumstance. So I went into full-time service for the DOJ, and I spent the better part of that 2 years conducting like what you'd call undercover operations for the United States Department of Justice. So not everything is successful. It's not as easy as people think it is, but it's extremely dangerous. And so with that, I got compromised while I was out there. Long story. It's very extremely dangerous and stressful. I was contacted on, I think, February the 21st. I was contacted by the family of this guy. That's Staff Sergeant Michael David Cardenas. I met him in Kosovo. He was one of my brothers. He passed away on February 20th, 2010 in Afghanistan. And so that was like the coup de grace for me. So I traveled to he's from Corona. I traveled to Moreno Valley, met up with everybody else, and we waited for our brother and we laid him to rest. So I was on the fence at that point of either hate and anger and revenge or trying to live for my brothers. So that's when I show you guys the video of me at the Redwood Gospel Mission in Sonoma County. That's what happened. Was I deactivated. I traveled. I went to Sonoma County. I went to Santa Rosa Junior College. I enrolled. I went to the VA, got registered for therapy. They hooked me up with the service animal. And I was staying at that shelter. And so that story where I'm showing you guys where I'm with my little boy and everything, That's why it means so much, because most people don't know the totality of what happened and how I got there. It was everything went crazy and chaotic based on all that undercover stuff. So in 2011, I met my current spouse, the one I've been trying to divorce since March 22nd. That's what's going on here in this building. Is these people intentionally compromise not only my safety but the safety of my son. And so I'm asking this building to compel the United States Department of Justice to prefer action. They're very powerful people, extremely powerful people. It's the people that let Paul Pelosi off with a slap on the wrist. So they have the favor of the Pelosi's, they have the favor of the Newsoms. And I'm not saying that for politics, it's Napa, so there's a relationship with these individuals. So if a judge does a solid for those people, they're very well insulated. And that individual has placed my son and me in harm's way. So if you want to see it, today at 8:30 Pacific, log in, go to the Napa County Superior Court website, go to remote appearances. At 8:30, there's going to be a court hearing on Zoom. The judge that did Paul Pelosi's family a favor, he's no longer there. But the damage that he has done and what they've done in this, it's criminal. That's why there's a civil action against them in the Eastern District of Virginia, Richmond. There's action preferred here, where we're waiting for both courts to make the decision and the DOJ to make the decision to hold these people accountable. They retaliated against me when I came here last year. Look through the videos, the car accident, the whole thing is, I drove all the way across the country to go to the DOJ and say, hey man, these people are trying to get me smoked, man. And so that's criminal. By them doing that, it's a crime to retaliate against a former asset for the United States, whether you're a witness, victim, anything like that. So the purview and responsibility to protect those people is exclusively the DOJ. And the only people that can ask the DOJ, I don't want to say those words, I don't like saying compel, because I'm not trying to like rub my do what I say. That's the stupidest thing people can do. I still approach it with a humble saying, hey man, can you protect my son? He's innocent in all this. He wasn't even alive when I did this stuff for you guys. So this building has the power to reach out and touch Napa County through the DOJ, because what they've done violates all kinds of federal laws and crazy stuff. Then Trump, you were here, I was right there. On January, he changed the identifiers of the cartel to FTOs. And some people get on here and they're angry about politics and everything. I'm focused more on the policy, because by him changing the identifier of those groups, that means that now the DOJ is going after the very people who were responsible for kidnapping and unaliving my first wife's father. So I hope that makes sense, because some people get on here and they try to make lateral attacks like, oh, about politics and all that. Listen to what happened. On January 25th, dude changed the identifier of the groups responsible for taking my first wife's father from his home, unaliving him, and dumping him on the freeway, along with other people in San Diego. Okay? So yeah, I support that, man, because that means the people that are dangerous and harmful, they're standing on business right now. So I hope that makes sense, because some people get on here and they play the politics game and the yada yada. Don't you think that would be an ideal circumstance if the United States is ramping it up and going hard on these people? That's a good thing for me, right? Because they're at odds with the people that are responsible for these harmings. So now, changing the identifier of these groups, it makes everything different in the legal spectrum too, because them retaliating against me, now that means they're providing material support to foreign threat organizations because of that identifier change. Many people here do not know that Mitt Romney's family was ambushed. Women and children were ambushed intentionally in Mexico in a motorcade. Look it up. Type in Mitt Romney's family ambush Mexico. They were ambushed by the cartel. Some people say that Mitt Romney ran for president because he wanted to protect his family. They have a huge Mormon Romney presence down in Mexico, and they were getting into scuffles with the cartels. So some people say that Mitt Romney wanted to become the president so that he could do exactly what Trump did and what Lindsey Graham tried to do. And then you see that Mitt Romney's family was ambushed. They intentionally targeted women and children and dispatched them. So Mitt Romney has been trying to get that identifier changed. Lindsey Graham was trying to get the identifier change from organized crime to FTOs. That's a game changer. That's you're going to see the culmination of that now. It's going to be a different world. They're in the same box as some of the people responsible for the most horrible stuff. So I hope we would all support that. But that's the game changer. You know what I mean? So look into that. Look into what Lindsey Graham and them tried to do to change the identifier. It is now changed. And so what people in Napa County are doing is they're providing material support. And you can hear it in the audio. You can see it in the transcripts. I was like, hey, you guys can't do this. I was citing the nomenclature, blah, blah, blah. They completely disregarded it. So for that reason, this court has the power to compel them to be held accountable by law, criminally. So I preferred civil action through a 42 USC 1983 civil RICO in the Eastern District of Virginia. Thank you. You could look it up. John Anaya versus County of Napa et al. I have filed a mandamus here to ask that this court compel the DOJ to investigate and properly hold accountable the people who have done this. They did this on purpose. I can show you. I have everything. I didn't want to come out to the public. I was doing my best to do with this behind closed doors. But they wanted to play dirty. They wanted to play dirty. I came all the way here on August 21st, of 2024. I was here. I was live. I was at the DOJ saying, help. I had initiated a congressional inquiry through Congressman Mike Thompson's office. I came here to follow up on it. I was struck that day by an inebriated driver, so I had to return. The next day, though, I had made a video. It's on here saying that I want depositions. I want discovery. So they don't like anybody saying, oh, you're going to depose the judges and yada, yada. Allison Haley, the Napa County District Attorney, goes and files an erroneous action against me. Most of you who are in family court or otherwise, look, there's an invisible barrier. It's called jurisdiction, right? So it's the same courtrooms, right? You could have a criminal case and a family law case and a probate case in the same courtroom, same judge, but there's an invisible barrier with jurisdiction. So if you're in a family law circumstance and you're getting into it with the other people, I filed for a TRO based on all of this that I'm telling you guys. And a TRO is a family circumstance. So if somebody violated that TRO, it's contempt of court, which they can potentially lock them up, but it's contempt of court, it's civil, it's family. So it wouldn't be in criminal. What Allison Haley did was she lied and said that there was a CPO in place against me, which is, you can hear Mark Bosnecker say, hey, where's the criminal history on this? Right then. So he acknowledged right then and there that he realized he was operating outside of jurisdiction. Criminal and civil are two just jurisdictions. But what they try to do is get you into their control, which Napa County has been trying to do incessantly from the outset. She mailed a summons to my home knowing I wasn't there. I was here. So I would have had no idea, would have returned for my visits with my son, the little measly three hours every other week. Went from 50% to 3 hours every other week. They retaliated against me for whistleblowing. Another crime. But when you retaliate against a former asset for the United States Department of Justice, that's a crime. Then who did I operate against? Those FTOs. So now you have extra layers. So that's what all this is about right here. And now we file a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court to properly assess whether their conduct at the County of Napa is providing material support to FTOs. Additionally, what's going on in this building is the same thing for the United States to say, hey, you guys retaliated against this dude because he asked for you guys to keep his son out of proximity of people that are unalivers, the cartel. As a matter of fact, he volunteered to serve with us. He put his life on the line for us. And you guys are trying to put his son in harm's way? That's what's going on in this building right here. That's what that is. But now we go to the Supreme Court. So right now, the ball's in the DOJ's court right now. The County of Napa is represented by super law firms. Porter Scott out of Sacramento, California. They're represented by Ryan J. Starks in Richmond and Don Boyce. So there's 4 judges. That district attorney, her direct report, Lauren Noga, Kendall Barron, Mark Bosnecker, Robert Stamps, Elia Ortiz, Joseph Solga, Christine Briseno, Alfredo Latanaga, Becky Craig, Veronica Piper Jefferson, and Alexis Vossmeyer are all defendants. They are subjects of my request to this court to compel the United States to hold them criminally accountable. You listen to the videos. I say, hey, are you aware of my circumstance? Yes, I am. I said, let's go to the FBI. Meet me in San Francisco. Come on now. Let's go to the DOJ. They refused to show up. I have all that in writing on video. I was recording everything when I went places. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're being harmed, you have to think outside the box to be able to prove it. These people can do nothing to help you if you don't go get the evidence. You got to think outside the box. I have some ideas, but I can't say them here. So I'm here in DC. I lost everything I had and I rebuilt it. I became a homeowner, a business owner. They've taken all that away. But my brother's passing away, I was on a cusp. I had to either choose anger and revenge or to live for them in their name. And that's what I chose to do. I chose peace and nonviolent. I went to Sonoma County, rebuilt myself. That's what that shelter was, man. I deactivated. I went to Sonoma County, went to the VA. They got me a service animal. I was in therapy and treatment. Man, if you're out there and you're doing these things for the United States, man, that stress is so crazy because you don't know when you're going to walk into an ambush. If you're compromised, man, it is stressful. I had nightmares, terrible ones, man. And this is what they're doing to me now. They've weaponized my son. The gift of choosing peace over pain or revenge was my wonderful son, my gift from the grave, as it were, from my brothers who lost their lives, because I made the change about them, and it remains to this day. In the county of Napa, because I exposed them for what they were doing, which was placing my son in harm's way. I'm like, hey, my son can't go down into the area of operations. It's dangerous. I'm going to show you guys pictures of people who are no longer here who got smoked because they made that mistake. So the danger was real. You can see it right there. You can read quite a bit of it. They have no excuse. Those are the defendants. So they're trying to hire, they have these attorneys, these super attorneys that are trying to look for a sliver of escape, but they have none because there's just so much dang evidence. Be like, dude, he's got you with your own mouth saying this stuff. That's me having them. Were any of the judges appointed by former President Otto Penn? No, they were assigned, they were picked by Gavin Newsom. And this is Napa County, folks. So this is a real story here. Like I said, I never wanted to come out here, but it got to the point that if I didn't go to you guys for help, so many of you guys showed up to court and saw this and have seen the documentation, and I've learned from you guys. I'm self-represented fighting super attorneys right now. That's not a generic, I'm not using that as a euphemism. That's a real term. When you're fighting super attorneys, that means they have to have certain accolades to get that title. I'm up against 3 of those right now that are being paid for by tax dollars. I'm a taxpayer. They did this. They harmed my son. We're going to make our way up to the Supreme Court right now. He is, no doubt. These people, if you're in Napa and you own a winery, Gavin Newsom owns wineries there. He's business partner with Gordon Getty. Or John Paul Getty, I can't remember if Gordon Getty or John Paul Getty. That's the billionaire guy. The kidnapping that happened in Italy back in the days, it's a long story. That's how Gavin Newsom's father got into power. He went to school with Jerry Brown, who became the governor of California, and with the Getty family, billionaires. Gavin Newsom's father actually delivered the ransom money in Italy. It's a crazy story. There was a movie about it with Mark Wahlberg, like in 2017. This kid, he wanted to fake his own sequestering, and the Italian mob was like, no, we're going to do it for real. And they grabbed him, and yeah, it turned into a nightmare for him. But Jerry Brown and the Gettys and Gavin Newsom's father all went to some school together, this like Catholic school. And when Jerry Brown became the governor, he assigned Gavin Newsom's father to be a judge in Placer County. And then he promoted him to the First District Court of Appeals, which the First District Court of Appeals reinforces the harm that's being done by the county of Napa to folks. And so what we've done is we've networked together. If you look at the video of me at the FBI building in the office right there, you'll see a woman. Then watch the other video in the courtroom. You'll see that same woman in the audience. That attorney that's committing fraud and perjury and doing all this stuff, that's the father of her children's attorney. So you see, we banded together as the people that are being harmed. We are stronger together. We have a platoon-sized element of parents, people who are wealthy, people who are medium income, low income, but we have banded together, and there's a common denominator, and it's these folks. So I highly recommend that people within their own county band together with other people. It's going to be the same judges, the same playbook. So you guys know these actors, where we reach out to other people and we're speaking on names and all this stuff, and they don't know all this stuff. Let me see. So what? Yes, Tom Baker. So what? Yeah. If you could leave the live if it doesn't, you don't like it. Tom. Anyhow. Everybody follow Tom. Give Tom. Tom needs some attention. Somebody give him a hug. So yeah, anywho. We're going up to the Supreme Court. We're going to go up to the Congress, the Senate. We're going to go find the people who have introduced this bill that everybody's talking about. We're going to get to the meat and the potatoes. Is it valid? Is it not valid? Is there what need be done? So we can hear it directly from the people who are running that show, as opposed to all this, how you say, I don't know, the information from people, and then you ask them a question, they can't really give you an answer, and there's people going back and forth. Less of that is better. So we're gonna go straight to the people who can actually give us the answers. We'll go live, we'll make a video so you can hear it from them. Don't take my word for it. I don't expect you guys to do so. So 11:30, so about 43 more minutes. If you want to log in, go to Napa Superior Court website. It may take a while because they usually put my name towards the end of the docket, but they're not even supposed to do that. It's supposed to be in camera, but they refuse to do so incessantly, repeatedly. That's part of the premise of my action preferred against them, because they were afforded the opportunity, they were provided more than enough, because you can't even FOIA that stuff. But and then you got Mark Bosnecker saying that he's entitled to it. Little Mr. Mark Bosnecker. Well, so now they're trying to do everything they can to try to escape accountability. That's the 4 judges. They're trying to use abstentia, Rooker-Feldman. But Virginia, the Commonwealth, has certain laws, like the long arm statute, where if you're in another state and you're harming somebody here in Virginia, then jurisdiction is properly here. And that's one of the things I want to show you guys with how to establish jurisdiction here. So many people are trying to, and they're failing, but there are some ways to do it. That should be your number one focal point, to ask the AI, do I have jurisdiction? Enter all your documentation, scan it, run into the AI, and very first thing you should do is, do I have jurisdiction? Can I have jurisdiction? Is there a way? So I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not an attorney. I'm just going to show you guys what I'm doing. And Amanda here, we're going to go to VAWA today too. So we're asking, what did they tell you that day, Amanda, when you spoke to them?
The last time I spoke to them, they said to do OIG. And
OIG, folks, is the Office of the Inspector General.
Yeah.
That's who investigates, certain agencies.
And so that's all they said, was do those 2 things. I don't know the other one. I have to look at my notes.
So the VAWA people told her to file a complaint with the OIG, folks. If you don't file these complaints, you don't initiate the mandate. You can't expect them to do anything if you've never said, hey, this happened to me. If they fail you, then you have that to go to that next step. But if you're like, hey, nothing happened. Well, did you file the complaint? No, I didn't. Well, I mean, what did you expect? Art just asked a question. He says, have you asked the federal court to take supplemental jurisdiction over your state court case? Well, that's where that Rooker-Feldman issue kind of comes into play a little bit, and some people are trying to pull it up, but that's a very narrow margin of success, but it is tangible. That guy Adam, he said that they've done that up there in New York and that they were successful. Amanda Dawson in Napa, she tried that and they rejected it. But my circumstance is unique. So to that question, I can't say too much because I'm in this point right now. I got to figure out what to do. Will they do anything? Will something be done where I have to pull away and just say bye to everybody? Or because I came to you guys because there was no other option. People that should have done something weren't doing what they were supposed to. And so I have made some requests. That's all I'll say. But you have to let it play out. And the last thing in the world I want to do is piss off the DOJ. They're all here. I know they're here. There's also all the thug people too, because I noticed an uptick of certain people on my platform. Then there's the people in Napa County who don't like the fact that you're pulling back the covers of their friends and what they're doing. And so it is what it is. So we're gonna check in with the senator. We got the name, or congressman, and we're gonna go delve into this thing. Is it a breakfast? Is there something booked? Is there a necessity for people to fly in and exhaust resources, or can they just send in the documentation? So really think about that too. On that day, right here at Grant Memorial, if there was gonna be 500,000 affidavits, if one affidavit, say you set it like a maximum of just 10 pages, everybody can do an affidavit, 10 pages, 500,000, do the math on that. Then you have to submit 40 copies of that amount of, do the math. How are you gonna lug up that much paper? Who's gonna pay for the ink, the paper, the whole thing? So that's what when I'm talking about whether or not something's tangible, that's one of the questions. It begs the question to the validity, Amanda. Because if 500,000, let's just say times 10, then times 40, that's how many pieces of paper you're gonna lug up here. Do the math on that. One ream of 500, I'm gonna weigh it today so we could do I wanna lay out the whole formula for you. And then you gotta get it, I'm walking the path right now to the Supreme Court where you gotta go. If you guys wanna stay with us, I'm gonna show you guys. We'll go to the booth so you can hear it from the security officers about the 24-hour service that you can do 7 days a week. I might be able to just show you one of the kiosks so you can see where I'm talking about. You just bring your filings there. You give it to the security detachment. They put it in a plastic bag. It takes a few days for them to go through everything. Make sure there's they go through NBC protocol. Then it goes into the Supreme Court. So for that reason, you can serve 7 days a week. So if you have a writ of mandamus, if you have a writ of certiorari, but you have to exhaust all of those other options. So you got to go all the way up to the state Supreme Court. There are some exceptions. That rule of 4, if 4 justices are willing to look at your case, then the other ones have to. And the reason why you got to submit 40 copies is because there's 9 justices. Each one of their clerks has to get one, and then the court. And so that's the reason it's 40. That's if you're paying the filing fee. If you're doing IFP, which is informa pauperis, then which you have to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get approved for that, and it might be denied. Then you only have to do 11 copies. But it makes me wonder, can you do the IFP, and then if it gets denied, submit pay the filing fee, and you'll be okay with the 11 copies? That's a good question we should ask, because that's happened to some people, like Daniel Gomez, out of North Dakota or South Dakota, I think it was. He that was the obstacle he faced. He was ready to go. He had all his stuff, but he was trying to navigate the logistics of how to get it here to the clerk. Well, could you imagine that? 40 copies of your request. How much paper is that you're going to run through the mail if you're going to mail it from your state? Or fly in here? Where are you going to print it? Kinko's? Office Depot? How much is that per page? And I'm not trying to discourage people. I just want you guys to understand the logistics so that you know 100% what needs to be done. Because I don't think they're telling people everything. I don't know if people are here for video views or popular. I don't know. I don't want to besmirch nobody. But we have a duty to not fail each other by relaying stuff that's not tangible. And then somebody who's hanging on by threads gets disappointed. That could be the thing that drives them into consumption or relapse or worse, you know. All right, here we are, the United States Supreme Court. So right back here are the buildings. That's the Hart building. We're gonna go back, we're gonna go there in a little bit. We're gonna get to the meat and the potatoes of this conflict that has been brewing. I'm blessed today. I have Amanda's here and she has some questions to be answered. She's been an advocate she's been on Marianne Petrie's show 4 times?
4 times.
4 times. And she's battled this hardship too. So many people are like relentlessly fighting this battle and are just found wanting. And that's why I say it's so important that we are effective. And part of that means if somebody's out there giving stuff that just does not work or doesn't make sense because they want to be popular or whatever the reason is, whether it's monetary or fame or attention, I don't know. I'm not here to call nobody out on that. Whatever the ulterior motive is, if it does harm to people, we got to call it out for what it is. So here we are, folks. United States Supreme Court. And I will bring you guys when I file my writ of certiorari. I think I'll do a nighttime delivery too, so I'm not having, traffic can be a nightmare here in DC, getting in and out. That's why you see me always on the move, because I try to get in here, knock out what I got to get done, and then get back on the road. So I'll be asking the Supreme Court to make the decision whether or not Napa County is providing material support to FTOs. Because imagine if everything about you was clandestine, secret, hidden, it was in a safe. And that's how it works. If you have an identifier and you operate, it's in a safe and inside whatever agency or agencies, and the only people that can access that information are a dedicated team. Not anybody could just walk up to that safe and access those identifiers. But Napa County thought, well, we're just going to put that all out there because this dude's whistleblowing on us because we were allowing his son to be taken into harm's way. Like literally, I mean, not literally, but physically allowing my son to travel into the area of operations. No bueno. Maybe this gentleman can answer questions. How you doing, sir? People can come serve here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the guard station for for clerks.
Are you trying to file?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to show people what's the best way to file.
There's only one way to file.
And it's that box,
You gotta file,
that booth. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to show them is they can come because sometimes getting plane flights or traffic that, hey, come in the nighttime, you can still serve the documents and things like that. Yep.
Show who? Oh, like on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just like informative, like educational purposes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you just gotta go over there.
Yep. All right. So you heard it from this gentleman. He would know better than I. So if you need to serve a writ of cert, request for review, mandamus, this is the guard station right here. So you would bring your documents. Think about it. It's gonna be a lot of heavy paper. So you might need one of those little cart things because 40 copies of, like I said, I think 1,000 pages of a request is going to be light because there's some of y'all that got like 3,000, 4,000 pages in your guys' case files. So you can imagine that times 40. It's insane. And what the weight of that's going to be. So you may have to bring like a full vehicle, SUV, with all your requests, and then you would bring it to this duty station right here. Awesome contact. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. God bless you. If you guys are here right now, check this guy out. Arc33 Shop. Guy is a phenomenal warrior for the people. He's battling a battle that, wow, makes me shake in my boots just think about what he's doing. So this is the station. So let's ask them, can you pull up? May I ask a question? Howdy.
Hi.
So if people had to file here, because some of them it's a lot of paper, it's very heavy, could they pull a vehicle up here to unload the paper, or do they got to lug it up by hand?
They can park alongside temporarily, just right there for like a quick moment.
Okay, folks, that'll help you out big time. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because think about it, 40 copies of, let's say, even 500 pages, it's going to be heavy. One ream of paper is 500 pages. Everybody here has picked up one of those packets of paper. Imagine you got to lug 10, 15, 20 of those. So like these trucks right here, I was asking, can people roll up right here? And this is where you file. So you give them all your documentation. They put it in a plastic bag, goes to security protocol. Then it goes to the clerk, and then you initiate the process of either being approved or denied. I got that video from Albert here about the clerk being the most powerful guy in the country. You know what? I better tap out on my phone. Hey, if you guys want to tap into the Napa County Superior Court at 8:30, so that's in 30 minutes, let me know. Well, I'll see y'all there. You go onto the Napa County Superior Court website, check remote appearances, and it's courtroom C. Kesha Lind is the judge. All right, God bless y'all.